Do you want to know how parental alienation affects children? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about parental alienation. In this video, we're going to talk about what parental alienation looks like and the effects that it has on children for the long term. So what is parental alienation? What does it look like? There can be many components that could all be part of parental alienation, but one thing that's a pretty obvious one to recognize is that when the child is put in the middle between parents, it often happens in a divorce situation, but doesn't necessarily have to be a divorce situation. Sometimes parental alienation can occur even when the parents are still living together. Maybe just one parent thinks the other parent is doing everything wrong. They want the child as an ally against the other parent, and so they start to put the child in the middle. They talk to the child about the bad behaviors of the other parent. That is the main thing that leads to parental alienation. This can be very overt. It can be obvious that it's happening, or it can be really subtle, little clues that pique the child's interest, that make them think they're learning something all on their own about mom or about dad. So sometimes even another adult in a child's life can actually promote alienation from their parents. So it's important to recognize what a good parent-child bond is supposed to look like so that you know when the parental alienation has occurred. A good parent-child bond should be open, should be understanding. They should care about each other. They should be able to trust each other. They should be able to correct each other and solve problems together. If for whatever reason a child is disallowing their parent to help them solve a problem, if they feel like their parent is discredited because of something that they have learned about their parent from somebody else, whether it's a therapist or the other parent in their life, then that child could be experiencing parental alienation. It could also mean that the child just needs some skill development, which is important regardless of whether parental alienation is occurring or not. Parental alienation can be super hard to prove. It can also be really hard to help a child recover from because children just naturally want to please their parents. And when they feel like they're not pleasing one of their parents, they work really hard. If the other parent is also doing parental alienation, the child could flip-flop back and forth between who they think their favorite parent is at the time. Another thing that can create that flip-flopping effect is if one parent actually feels safe and the other parent is engaging in parental alienation, trying to prove that the safe parent isn't actually safe. This can be a very difficult scenario for the child to find themselves in. Another way that parental alienation can occur is if one parent is suddenly rejecting their child. If they're saying, I can't fully accept you unless you think the way I do about the other parent or about something else I care about. It could even be religion or political ideologies or social ideologies. If the parent is holding that over the child's head, the parent is actually creating an alienation between them and their child instead of somebody else doing the work for them. Another way that parental alienation can occur is for a parent to engage in black and white thinking. So making it so that the parent cannot or will not understand any differences with the child or the other parent or other people around the family can make the child become very confused about the parent and not sure if they can trust them or if they'll be judged by the parent next. This can make it so that they withdraw from the parent, and the parent this time has actually done it it to themselves. So let's talk about the effects that this parental alienation can have on the child. If you've already subscribed to this channel, then you know I talk a lot about the parent-child bond, the relationship. We talk about identity, roles in the family, and how foundational and powerful those are for the person, for their outcomes and productivity in life. Parental alienation can actually disintegrate some of that foundational identity of the child. So as the child grows and enters adulthood, they could start feeling very insecure. They could do a lot of self-loathing because they didn't get the type of bonding and attachment that they needed with both of their parents. They could question their own worth or even their identity. These are very common things that happen when parents are behaving selfishly with their children. And maybe I should say it more than selfishly. Parental alienation is a form of adult immaturity. It's an adult being emotionally and maybe even psychologically immature. And then they project that all on the children, and the child, feeling all of this weight dumped on them, suddenly doesn't know who their parent really is, if they can trust them, who they are, if they're even worth anything, because they're spending so much of their days just trying to please their parents. Whether it's the parent that's talking bad about another parent or whether it's the parent who's actually pushing them away. The child is trying desperately to find themselves in the good graces of their parents. In the midst of all of this, they end up losing who they really are. During this time of self-loathing, questioning their value to other people and society, but especially to that particular parent or their family, they end up feeling broken. Something's missing because they don't have one of their vital bonds that helps them feel complete in their lives. And so many times it can lead to depression, and they can start feeling like life just doesn't feel right. Because really it doesn't if you're missing one of your vital connections. It's hard to replace the connection from a parent. And ultimately what a child oftentimes has to do is figure out how to survive without that connection from the parent, without that support from the parent. They have to learn how to go it alone, feeling maybe a little bit broken all the time. That's a big no answer to take. Another effect that can be really debilitating for a child who has experienced parental alienation is impaired emotional regulation, which means that they have a hard time keeping themselves emotionally regulated. They feel dramatic, emotional, they feel like things are happening to them all of the time, and it makes them feel quite panicked, actually. And when they're in other relationships with other people, they start behaving dysregulated. They start looking for bonding in unhealthy ways from the other people, even almost trying to force bonding with their future children or spouses, because they have not had that healthy type of bonding that doesn't require so much effort, energy, or force. This emotional dysregulation can very easily lead to a feeling of numbness, of being disconnected from yourself and your own life. It can lead to depression and anxiety and attachment issues with other people as well. This emotional dysregulation can create loyalty conflicts in a person's life. This can create problems of them not knowing how to set boundaries for themselves so that they can maintain some of their own emotional autonomy. This loyalty complex can make it so that they're really obsessive about not wanting to disappoint other people, so they go around trying to please everyone all of the time. It also can make them feel like that to solve other people's problems that they should coddle or over caretake for other people. That looks like them as a parent now trying to make all their child's problems go away just by emotionally keying into that child again and again. It's just not healthy. So what should a healthy person be able to do? A healthy person should be able to talk openly about their problems, talk about their processing, say, yep, that probably wasn't the right way because, and then be able to make plans for their future. That's what an emotionally mature, healthy person should be able to do. So how do you help yourself or your children heal from this parental alienation, you're going to start by working on the identity and working on understanding what self-government even means, because they need to understand self-government in order to find themselves feeling like they can have control over themselves. When you teach your child self-government and you talk about the roles in the family, then you can start making a plan for what type of a family you want to have. Then you can talk about the skills of self-government, like how to accept no answers from each other and follow instructions, how to disagree appropriately, accept consequences, get calm and regulated. You can start deliberately taking steps that will create liberation for that person. Maybe that person has to, by law, go see that other parent that's doing that parental alienation all the time. What I would do is don't spend too much time trying to counter what the other person is doing. Just try to live according to truth. When the child's at your house, teach them the skills that they need, have a good, productive communication with them, just prove them wrong. And if they say, oh, dad says this about you, or mom says this about you, just look at them. Like my friend Kristen used to say to her children, and just say, that's wrong. Now, how about we go work on this project together? Or that's a lie, that's not true. And then just go work on something else. Don't get into all of the nitty-gritties of why it wouldn't be true. Don't argue, don't bash at it. Just state the truth and then move on with regular life. Don't let that stuff take things over. And they will recognize truly that all of those things that are being said about you are actually not true. I know that it's difficult to parent when somebody else might be trying to alienate your children, but there are things that you can do, and if you create a good solid system that gives you backup and that will help your children learn the skills and principles that they need to govern themselves, then hopefully they will not be sucked in by this alienation and lose that identity that's going to be so important for them for their future. If you want to find out more about the teaching self-government skills and principles that you could teach your children, I highly recommend my next video, which is a full-length class about self-government, and it's called The Not-So-Known Secret for Parenting Success. Click on the link to that video next. I'll see you there.